All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our second Conversations with the Chemist. My name is Arnidra Jordan, and I am the project manager here at Black Women for Wellness. And we would like to welcome you to our Conversations with the Chemist. And we are going to get started. So I'm going to first say hello on behalf of our executive director, Jan Robinson Flint. She may drop in later on, but if she's not here, I just want to bring greetings on behalf of her. And I am going to turn the program over to our wonderful intern, Sophia, and to our wonderful beauty justice coordinator, Madison Beckett. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to introduce your moderator for the evening, Dr. Taminika Ferguson. She's a feminist, womanist scholar, educator, and a longtime advocate for reproductive justice and racial equity, precisely the right person to guide tonight's robust conversation.
Thank you so much, Sophia. Good evening, beautiful people, and welcome again to Conversations with the Chemist, hosted by the Beauty Justice Initiative at Black Women for Wellness. I'm your moderator, Dr. Taminika Ferguson, and I'm truly honored to hold space with you tonight. This series centers on amplifying the voices of Black scientists and empowering our community with information and actionable steps. Tonight's topic, SPF melanin-rich skin and safer sun care, is deeply personal and political. We've all heard the myth that Black folks don't need sunscreen. However, the truth is that sun protection is vital, and unfortunately, many products marketed to our communities are loaded with harmful chemicals. So let's set the record straight with a scientist who brings both professional and cultural wisdom to the table. I am thrilled to introduce Mahogany Smith Christopher, an environmental scientist at California Departments of Toxic Substances Control. She works in the Safer Consumer Products program and brings a deeply intersectional lens to her work. Having previously worked as an esthetician, small business owner, and a global environmental researcher. Please join me in welcoming Mahogany. We have about 10 questions that we are going to work through in the time allotted. So let's go ahead and get started. The first question, let's start with your work at the Department of Toxic Substances Control. What does your day-to-day look like as a Black environmental scientist, and how does that tie to safer beauty?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me. Thank you for the warm welcome, Dr. Taminika. So I'll go a little bit into my career at DTSC. So I'm currently an environmental scientist in our chemical and product evaluation unit at the Safer Consumer Products program under DTSC. And here I generally research which products contain chemicals that could be unsafe for the public and look at how these products are used in places like homes or schools and workplaces. And if enough information is obtained on the dangers of the product, we can require companies to go ahead and look for safer ways to make these products. So that's a simplified version of what I do in my day-to-day here at SCP.
Thank you. We're going to move on to question 2. So your journey blends beauty, science, and activism. What inspired you to pursue this path, and how has your experience as an esthetician informed your work around toxic ingredients?
Yeah, so that's a bit of a tough one. And I had a little bit of an unorthodox path. So I started off at cosmetology school, and then I later went to college for environmental sustainability with an emphasis in public health. And I think throughout my professional experience, as well as childhood experience, and just understanding like Black women in relation to beauty products emerging, like my cosmetology school, esthetician, and environmental scientist hats, I started to see a major theme in how products, but especially personal care products, which we use, like multiple times a day, and even the built environment can alter a person's life trajectory, which is, detrimental to some if you make the wrong choices or if you're in the wrong predicaments. So I really wanted to be a part of a career field that could systemically address health disparities from a preventative standpoint and really promote a culture where well-being isn't a privilege but a fundamental human right. So I think that's what kind of was my driver for my path that I took into this field. I think you're on mute. I can't hear you.
You're right. Sorry about that. You talk about the unorthodox path that you took, cosmetology school, esthetician. During your time in that realm, and I'm pretty sure you still got your foot in that as well, right? Would you say that even in the field of cosmetology, are they doing a better job of promoting better products and use in school, right? Because you know, sometimes I feel like it's promoted as a better product when you're going to cosmetology school, but I'm just curious, if students are exposed to better quality products.
Yeah, I would say there's definitely a gap in the green green chemistry or safer
Mhm.
alternatives within the curriculum of
Yeah,
cosmetology because better products doesn't always equal safer.
that's true.
So there is definitely a gap there that I'm hoping like the work here can push the curriculum for
Okay.
cosmetology schools, really all forms under, the Board of Cosmetology and Barbering. But right now, I currently, and when in school, I did not see that as like a reoccurring theme or something that was kind of highlighted. So I would say
Mm.
definitely still needs some work to be done in
Okay.
that realm.
Okay. Thank you. All right, let's go on to question number 3. When we talk about sunscreen, what should Black women know? For example, what are some of the most concerning toxic ingredients, especially in products marketed to communities of color?
Yeah, so we actually research various products, and within those products, there's chemicals. So when it comes to sunscreen, a couple of the things that have been flagged are titanium dioxide in the spray or aerosol form. We have oxybenzone, also known as benzoyl phenol 3, and then of course paraben. So various forms of parabens. You have methylparaben, ethylparaben, and there's other types of parabens to be mindful of that have been researched to have potential health risks associated with them. And I'll go ahead and put the link in the chat to our website for everyone to read more about the work that we do here and some of the other projects about personal care products that we have. So that is the link there.
Okay.
There potentially could be more, but so far with our screening, and when I'm saying screening, I'm referring to research, these are the top ones that have come up when it comes to sunscreen.
Okay. Okay, so I have a question. I have a question about high-end beauty lines that manufacture or they market it as vegan and plant-based, eco-friendly type of products, sunscreen. Um, what are your thoughts on that? Is that better, or is there still some cause for concern even with products that are marketed as vegan or plant-based?
Yeah, I think that is like a new gimmick or trend that we've seen emerging over
Yeah.
the years of people saying, plant-based or insinuating that that's safer, but it's always good to look at the facts of the chemicals. So look at the chemicals that are in the product as far as reviewing, the ingredient list on the back and kind of utilizing resources that can help you understand what you're putting on your body. So I would say when you say vegan or plant-based, it's not necessarily safe or better, though that is like the pushed understanding for consumers to buy into, but there's no factual concepts behind vegan or plant-based. Now, if something is like, like a Black-owned brand or minority-owned business, those are fact-based things that you can prove, but you cannot prove if something is vegan or plant-based that it's safer chemically for you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. All right, let's move on to question number 4. We often focus on sunscreen, but beauty justice goes beyond that. So what other personal care products should we keep a close eye on, and what are the health risks tied to those products?
Well, with any of products, there's always dangers. Unfortunately, that's just the society we live in. So it really depends on the product, and there's so many chemicals associated with products. But I can kind of just tie it back to the sunscreen. So again, just paying attention when it comes to sunscreen to the chemicals I named. So like the titanium dioxide in the aerosol form, or oxybenzone or parabens. Those are kind of the ones when it comes to sunscreens. Now, depending on the product, you will have to take that on like a case by case basis. And so it's hard to say like the top 5 chemicals that are, prevalent in all products that affect all personal care products, because there aren't any like you can't simplify it that easily, but you can take product by product and try to research and again use the resources to kind of see what works best and what harmful ingredients that could potentially lead to health risks that are in there.
Thank you. I just had a thought. Let's take a place like a high-end place like Whole Foods, where folks like to shop to get their high-end product, their beauty products, because it's marketed as healthier and safer. The more it costs, the better quality you're going to get versus, let's say, going to a CVS or Walgreens to get beauty products, right? Would you say that the more that a product is, the more quality is going to be over a product that doesn't cost that much?
I would not be able to say yes or no on that. I,
Okay.
again, think it depends on the product and what's
Okay.
in the product. And also, you have to think about the media influence. Potentially, like a person could have posted this, and now it's on TikTok Shop, and now,
Yes.
the value
Okay.
of it on the market has skyrocketed, even though it
Yes.
has the same ingredients as a, lower shelf product. So I
Okay.
really think it depends on the product and like how much media coverage or the popularity of it as well.
Okay.
Depends on the influence, but not so much the ingredients in the product.
Ingredient. Okay. All right. Okay. So, question number 5. Let's address the myth. Black skin doesn't need sunscreen. Can you speak to why that narrative is dangerous and how it intersects with medical racism and neglect?
Yeah, so it is definitely a myth that melanin-rich folks or Black folks don't need SPF. So just to get into like general knowledge, so the sun has 3 forms of ultraviolet radiation. So you have UVA, UVB, and UVC. And the most prevalent in humans is UVA, which contributes to aging, and UVB, which contributes to burning. And though many of us, like melanin-rich folks, have a natural SPF of 13, we need a SPF of 30 for full protection from those, free radicals
Okay.
and to combat aging and burning. So
Yeah.
at minimum, you should strive for a SPF of 30 to kind of address those things. And when it comes to, I think you talked about like systemic racism and
Medical
things of that
racism.
nature.
Mhm.
I think it's just, again, goes into like the knowledge gaps and things not being updated with uh, the current status of society, how it is today. A lot of,
Mhm.
education is stuck in the past, and we're really trying to meet those gaps and fill in those gaps of education currently how it is versus like
Okay.
getting away from historically how it was. So I think this is just another one of those things that needs to be updated and pushed and not taken as like Black people are so resilient. They don't need this thing, right? Just because they don't want us to have it. So I think that's where I would go with that as far as merging those gaps again.
All right, so I'm gonna play devil advocate here. So historical context, the narrative or the myth that Black folks, we don't need sunscreen. I guess I'm wondering, did our ancestors wear sunscreen? I'm just wondering, like, where did that story, is it like an intergenerational thing? Was it passed down to us that Black folks just don't wear sunscreen? I mean, there's folks in my family that will throw it elaborate on in a minute, right? And then some of us don't. So I'm just wondering, does it have more to do with like pop culture or, was it a real thing, hundreds of years ago? Did our ancestors actually need to wear sunscreen, as we do now? That's just a thought that I had. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know at what point that myth got introduced into our history, but I do know that just overall, when you think of a Black person,
Mhm.
we're said to be more resilient, our skin to be more resilient, our hair to be more resilient.
Yes.
So we're not treated with the same care as the
Yes.
rest of society. So that's why you see things like, Black people don't need SPF because your skin, you're already dark
Mhm.
enough, you can't burn.
Mhm.
So why do you need
Mhm.
sunscreen? But
Mhm.
we indeed can burn. It just looks
Yes.
different from
Yes.
a person of a lighter skin tone.
Okay.
Or
Okay.
yeah.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. All right. Next question. So for those of us trying to choose safer products, what should we be looking for or avoiding on labels, right? For example, are there certifications or green washing traps we should know about?
Yeah, I think when it comes to brands and choosing, it's always resourceful to look at things like EWG or Clearia or apps that screens the products for you so that you're knowledgeable of what's in the product that you're using. So like EWG and Clearia have a tiered color-coded system of how products, the harmful ingredients in products, and if something is like, on the red side, you should probably stay away from it. Or if something is listed as like a carcinogen or
Hmm.
endocrine disruptor, you should stay away from it. So it's no right way or blueprint way to choosing products or having the right decision making behind products, except utilizing the resources to avoid potential health risks that are listed for you with the available knowledge. So I can't give any um, advice on which brands to use versus which not to use, but you can again go back to that ingredient list and utilize the tools that are available. Um, and even calling your manufacturer if you want more information about a product or potential health risk as well. So those are all the things you can do on your own to kind of navigate that in your decision making when it comes to products.
What I'm hearing in that statement, the elephant in the room is that folks need to slow down a little bit and actually uh, do some research on what we're putting on our skin and our bodies, pretty much. We need to slow down and do the work for that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we see that with like fast fashion, and that
Hmm.
same concept is applied to products as well. So many things are pushed. I don't know
Yep.
Personally, I see so many, feeds on my social media with a new skincare routine or a new product that'll help this condition
Yep.
that you've been having for
Yep.
forever. So it's really important to just hone in on yourself, look at your body, and not get influenced by the outside
Yes.
world because
Yes.
everything doesn't work the same for everyone. So you want
Right.
to be mindful of your own body chemistry and the
Yes.
toxins that are out there.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. So next question. As we imagine a beauty industry that centers Black women's health, what roles can scientists, estheticians, and grassroots organizers play in pushing for real transformation?
Yeah, so we can continue to develop apps like I've mentioned, so like Clearia or EWG, and there's so many other things out there. I'm just referring to the ones that we use here at SEP. And this is for consumers to understand the associated risks with products that they are consuming on the daily. So that's as far as what experts can do. And then working with manufacturers to focus more on green chemistry principles, so thinking about safer alternatives before launching a product so that it eliminates sometime after it's already launched for people, having reactions or potential health risks coming after, we can catch that earlier on. And lastly, just collaborating with local organizations. So Black Women for Wellness, as you know, is a great organization to collaborate with to better understand issues that are happening. Because sometimes we're so far removed from the community, depending on what you do as a chemist or environmental expert, that you don't even know the issues. You're just trying to research products. You're not looking at the socioeconomic issues attached to it. So involving yourself or even like attending meetings so you can collaborate and understand the issue, and then working with them to address the issue from all angles, but especially legislation, because that's one of the most impactful ways that we can get involved and make change as we've seen.
Okay. Okay. All right. So our next question. What are some everyday ways Black women and girls can reduce their exposure to harmful ingredients and advocate for safer beauty individually and collectively?
Yeah, so some everyday things again, not to beat a dead horse, but I just want to emphasize how useful the apps are because, like I said, they've done some extensive research for these chemicals to educate people. And I know it's an extra step and it's so frustrating. Like, why do I even have to do this? Why don't I just have like the basic rights that I can go to a store and not assume it's going to kill me in a couple years, you know? So I think just taking that extra step, utilizing those resources, um, and then following educators on the subject matter. So if you follow any local chemists or environmental experts, is uh, really a really good practice to like follow their social medias or read articles or just continuously brief yourselves on the products that you're using continuously as they're evolving and the compositions of products are evolving. So it's just an extracurricular thing, but it's
Mhm.
important to stay intertwined with it so you know how it's affecting you.
Yeah. All right. So, in the context of reproductive justice, how should we be thinking about the role of sunscreen, not just in protecting melanin-rich skin from skin cancer, but also in supporting our overall breast health, especially considering that our chest is often one of the most exposed and underprotected areas?
Yeah, when it comes, so we haven't really researched sunscreen in the context of reproductive health or reproductive justice, but generally, the same thing that applies to your face or other parts of your body will apply to, your full body. So also understanding the things that you use on your skin isn't more durable than your face. So the same practices that you would use. Again, with those apps, you will also want to use for anywhere on your body, including your breast. So just thinking about that overall. So kind of rewiring our brain and breaking the old habits, like when we're married to a product or when products are generational, it's so hard to break habit, right? So just rewiring our brain to break the habit and kind of taking matters into our own hands so we can choose better products for ourselves that affect our whole body.
You mentioned generational, breaking that generational curse, and it made me think about products that were sold like in the 1980s and 90s. It was like Mary Kay and some of that other stuff. I don't remember the names, but you would go to your, get a couple of girlfriends together, have a party and sell them these products, or you sell them in the community. You would go knock on doors and see if folks wanted to buy those products, and everyone was on it. It was a huge thing back in the 80s and the 90s. I just can't remember and it was really popular. Everyone was eating it up, right?
Yeah.
So it made me think about that generational, right? I don't know if folks are so much buying those kinds of products because, we've moved on to marketing other products. But definitely during those decades, those Mary Kay type of products, oh yeah, they were very popular. And they were definitely, popular in certain neighborhoods. They definitely pushed them in certain neighborhoods, yeah. So yeah, you're right about that. Yeah.
And I think in addition to generational products, we have generational practices. So say for instance, we change the product, but we still have the same habits or the same practices of old products, and their usage, either overusing or not using them in the right way, can still affect our decision making as well. So just breaking the habit of like generational products and generational habits, and more so educating yourself daily, which is, I know, kind of annoying because it's an extra step and our lives are already busy, but you have to just look at your body as something, very special. And if you don't want to subject it to potential health risks, or try to at least alleviate some of those things to the best way that you can, you would want to go ahead and do that. So
thank you. Okay. So we have a final question for you. What advice would you give to young Black women who want to pursue careers in beauty justice, environmental health, and of course, public policy?
yeah, so I was actually workshopping this quote over the weekend, so I'm gonna go ahead and say it. So the quote is, keep showing up in rooms where you don't feel seen or heard in. Your presence is planting a change, even if you can't see it yet. So this basically means, and I'll be fully transparent, taking the route that I took, you're not going to always see people that look like you. You're not always going to see people that get you. And sometimes when you see people that look like you, they don't come from the same place. So the perspective is a little different. So just knowing that you being in those spaces is already a change in itself. And sometimes you might, get discouraged some days, but don't let that deter you from the bigger picture and your passion for this. And know that you're not only paving the way for yourself, but also another little Black girl that's, might come after you. So you just want to be mindful, not only for yourself, but generally what you're standing for, which I will say can put a lot of pressure on you, unwarranted pressure, but that's just unfortunately the role that we have to take on generally when fighting against change, but specifically when being a Black woman fighting against change.
Yeah. Especially when you're in the room with no one looks like you, and you're constantly having to explain, validate, argue, challenge, right? Why I need the seat at the table, and it definitely takes patience, it takes drive, it takes motivation, persistence because the first thing they want to do is get you out of the room anyway. They don't want you there in the first place, right? And it can be a very isolating experience if you're the only Black person in that room or the Black woman in that room and nobody else has your back, right?
Yeah, most definitely. And
So go ahead.
it could also be that's also the case, or your presence could threaten people based on your assumed hostility or how you might
Mhm,
approach situations.
mhm,
People may want to keep you at
mhm,
arm's length to not,
yes,
interact with you or have confrontation with you, and
yes,
just rather, go talk behind your back or go an
yes.
easier route. So we deal with it on a lot of
Mhm,
ends with being
mhm,
Black, being a Black woman,
mhm,
and being in these
mhm,
spaces and fighting for
mhm,
change. There's just so many layers that
yes,
adds on to how hard and
yeah,
challenging the journey can be. But I
yes,
will say it has been very rewarding, and I'm
okay.
glad for groups like Black Women for Wellness and other
Yes,
Black women experts and just
yes,
Black experts in general that I've been able to connect and network with that has helped me come to the space I am. So
yes,
I'm more than willing to do this for the next generation, to do this for
yes,
other little Black girls.
yes,
Definitely, definitely one of my passions.
yes. Okay, right. Well, thank you so much for such a rich conversation, Mahogany. Now we love to bring our community into this conversation. If you have a question, please drop it in the chat or raise your hand, and Sophia and Madison will assist in queuing your questions.
And just a disclaimer, if I'm not able to answer any questions and I want to provide a more thorough response, I can get whoever's information and follow up after this meeting as well if they have specific questions about chemicals or products. But I'll do the
Okay,
best that I
I got
can.
some questions.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about global warming. Do you think that it's global warming as the reason why now everyone needs sunscreen? And because if we look at statistics and we look at statistics from 100 years ago when I heard Dr. Taminika talking about our ancestors didn't need it, Black folks didn't get skin cancer. It was rare, right? It was 1%. The same thing with breast cancer. Black women didn't get breast cancer, but we die from it. And so we see when Black people did get skin cancer, they died from it. So, what do you think? Is it global warming now that the reason why now everybody's coming in and your skin is fried? Could it be hormones? Could it be the food we're eating that's now requiring us, everyone on this planet, to wear sunscreen? When I was little, I went outside and played all day. Back then when kids went outside, we played all day. We didn't come in burnt up. My son, when he comes home from day camp, if I didn't put sunscreen on, I know because his face is all burnt up. So what is the difference now?
I think that's a really good question, and that's also a question I would be interested in knowing. I'm not sure the source of or when it started of when we started to need sunscreen or how this came about, like the influence. Potentially, it could be from all those reasons, and we're seeing changes in chemicals overall, historically till now. But I can't identify or pinpoint exactly when that change happened of when Black people needed sunscreen versus when they didn't. Also, it might be good to look into like case studies of potentially like people that, didn't wear sunscreen versus did wear sunscreen predating to like the 70s or the 80s, the times that you're talking about, to kind of look at the difference. And if it could potentially be like the Black people didn't show that they were burning then, and or it looked different. So we can't really identify exactly when that happened or if it happened, but I do think a part of the marketing is being pushed when it comes to sunscreen, both for health reasons, but also there's more brands and we have like a media influence a media push for it as well. We also have to think of the power of social media. We didn't have social media years ago. So now we're starting to see not only with products, just generally information come to the surface about potential health risks. And, information is just at the tips of our fingertips now. So it's a little bit easier to not only provide information, but to research information. So that can also be like a pivotal point in when we started to see more knowledge being put out in general about sunscreen and just overall products. So.
Well, thank you for that answer. Does anyone else have any questions?
Do we have anyone in the Q&A?
Nothing in the Q&A, but I can ask a question. Can you talk to us a little bit more about your work on the Safer Consumer Product Program?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I'm an environmental scientist in our chemical and product evaluation unit. And we do have quite a few units, but in my unit specifically, what I do is I look at the products in the chemicals and products. Well, first and foremost, we research products that could be affecting people or that are like trending. There's a couple strategies and ways to where we look at products to highlight or to research, and from there we research the chemicals and products that could potentially cause health risks and things like that. And from there we see, based on the information we've researched, if it's enough justification to move forward with a recommendation to stop or provide the consumer with a notice for them to provide a safer way to make the product. So that's generally what I do. Additionally to my environmental scientist role, I'm heavily involved in our environmental justice teams. So that does influence a lot of my projects. I look at through, like an environmental justice or an equity lens when thinking about products. And that is something we're starting to encompass more in the way that we research. So that's generally what I do as well.
Thank you for that. I have one more question for you, actually, if I can ask now. Are there any other beauty or personal care items you think we should be closely observing the ingredients of currently? Something that you think we should be on the lookout for right now?
Ooh, I would say everyone, but pay attention to your frequency of use. So I would just start with the things that you utilize the most. I don't have a specific thing, but you want to look at what you're exposed to the most. So for instance, it could be hair products, or if you're applying your skincare routine twice a day, leaving it on all day, you might want to look at the chemicals that are in there. Anything on your skin, anything, all personal care products you want to kind of look into and make sure. I don't have any specific ones that are at the top of my radar, but just generally be wary of everything and try your best to avoid things if you can with the knowledge and the resources that you have.
Thank you.
I have a question. So let's talk about the market for Black personal care and beauty products. What are the barriers? Because I'm just thinking about, we're bombarded with products 24/7 all the time. And I always wonder, I know Black folks are out here making stuff. We making stuff 24/7. We know how to make a way out of no way, right? But my question is, so I know there's barriers. There's barriers to why Black folks are not getting their products on the market. What's going on with that? What are the barriers that are preventing us from being able to access products for us? Because I know we're out there making it. So can you speak to that?
I would say some barriers that come to mind generally that we've seen. So we tabled at the Beauty Justice Conference just a couple months back with Black Women for Wellness, and a couple of concerns that were raised by a couple small business owners who are starting up were not knowing which chemicals are safe versus not safe. So with Black people, especially Black women, and if you are in this room and you want change, you kind of have a hesitancy on launching your product because you don't know what is safe or what's not. You don't know the regulations behind it. So definitely like a education gap there, resource gap. Some people are just not knowledgeable about what it takes to start a small business. We don't see that a lot in our communities growing up. Like, we don't always see people in our family starting business and having a successful business. So there could be a fear factor there of having a failed business. There's so many things that could come up when launching a business that I can't pinpoint specifically, but I do know that the Black women that I have talked to and the Black people who are starting up businesses and with the knowledge of environmental, concerns arising, they want to make sure that when they're launching a product, it's not harming their people. And I don't know why that is so hard to fill that gap, but it is. But I know we're trying. So I would just suggest those, startup businesses to continue to attend these spaces and also connect with their local experts, potentially hiring a cosmetic chemist for your brand or an environmental scientist for your brand or, a beauty justice expert so that your product is well rounded in how it is launched and not like you're not having, so many consequences after you launch a product and you have all these chemicals that are unsafe for the people that you're trying to help.
Okay. Thank you for answering. We do have a question in the Q&A. Let's see here. All right. So I'm sorry. Would you say that eating toxic chemicals is more dangerous than applying them topically?
We do not cover any form of vitamins or anything that you're ingesting here at SCP, so I wouldn't be able to answer that question. But topically, there are lots of health concerns there. Similarly to if no matter the route of exposure to how it's getting in your system, there's always going to be, health effects there if the chemicals are toxic. So I can't really do a comparison on eating versus applying topically, but they both do raise potential health risks. So it's important for you to take matters into your own hands and research what you're putting on and in your body again, because you never know.
Yeah. I'm wondering if the thinking is that topically, when you put it on your body, it's not going to go through the skin versus when you ingest it right through the mouth, that could be more toxic. I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah. And it, depends on the product, like the molecular weight of the product, how the product penetrates to the skin. There's so many layers of how a product can get into your bloodstream through the skin. And again, it's depending on the product itself. So it's hard to make general claims about products or which one is bad, which one is good, which brand is bad, which one is good. But you can research historically what brands have done disjustices to, African Americans or Black women, Black people. It's very mindful to be wary or be aware of brands like that. I will say that.
Okay. I'm not seeing any more questions here. So I guess we can turn it over to anyone have any other questions or? No? Okay. I'm gonna turn it over to Sophia.
Thank you both for that. That was so informative. So briefly before we go, I just want to do a quick call to action about why using safe sunscreen is so important. And we want to leave you with a simple but important call to action. Read your sunscreen labels. Avoid products with oxybenzone, parabens, homosalates, and benzone ingredients, which can be linked to hormone disruption and skin irritation. Look for safer options with zinc oxide. Research how certain ingredients might impact your skin and support brands that prioritize health, safety, and transparency for communities of color. You can visit bwwla.org to download our Safe Sunscreen Guide and share it with your friends, your family, your stylists. And you can also use apps like Clearia that will assist you in understanding ingredients and what's healthy versus unhealthy. And from there, I'll pass it off to Arnitra.
All right. So first, I want to thank Dr. Taminika and Mahogany, and I will go into depth with thanking them. But I also wanted to make sure that I explain what Conversations with a Chemist is. So, Conversations with a Chemist, for those of you that do not know, is a monthly dialogue that we'll be doing from June until December, and it connects Black scientists, beauty professionals, and public health experts with our community to unpack the truth about products that we use every day. So, everyday products, hair relaxers, our perfumes that we use, the candles that we burn, the incense that we burn, our deodorants, our menstrual care products. And our goal is to make science accessible, raise awareness about harmful ingredients, and equip Black women and girls to make informed, empowered choices. Um, and so this is why we're hosting these, and we'll be hosting them once again the second Monday of each month and or the third Monday of each month. Which one is it? Um, and you can find us on social media and look and see. And they're at 6 o'clock. And it's important for us to join and do this dialogue so that we know what, and we can hold this conversation. We can educate our community, we can educate one another, and we can make sure that we don't patronize people who are not in the benefit of us as Black people. So I want to make sure that I once again say thank you to our incredible guest, Mahogany, for her brilliance and care and for her work that she does, and Dr. Ferguson for guiding us through this vital dialogue. And thank you to everyone who joined us tonight and continues to support the beauty justice movement. If you can follow us on Facebook. We would love to see you join our reproductive justice conference. You can email Madison. We do have a couple of tickets that we can give away because we got a sponsorship. So we do have just a few. We don't have a lot, but we do have a few tickets that we can give away if financially you can't attend and pay for the conference. Don't forget that if you are in nursing, or you can get your continuing education credits at our conference. And let's all continue to advocate, educate, protect our health, because Black beauty deserves safety, science, and justice. And we all deserve to be beautiful, however that looks to us. So thank you for coming, and we hope you enjoyed this event. And thank you, Madison and Sophia, for putting this together. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Did you stop the recording? Okay.